So I just wanted to take a video to illustrate how ridiculous this is. So these are clover. These are quote micro clover. I could go pull out I have the like scientific name written down somewhere. And if you can see, this is all the shit that I have strapped onto the camera in order to take really zoomed in photos. And this lens out here at the front is 5x at its current magnification. Maybe you can catch that right there, maybe. And then this bellows system is added onto it, which gives it more magnification. And then there are these two extension tubes, which is even more magnification. And I have no way, I'm sure there's a way to calculate how much magnification this is based on the length of everything from the sensor, but I honestly have no idea. But I just wanted to illustrate, now that the screen auto-dimmed, I just wanted to illustrate one of the problem I think I'm having. So I've got this ridiculous light, and that cut down on some of like the glare. Like some of the plants were looking really shiny, and now I'm getting glare from the shop lights. Maybe I could but I just wanted to illustrate. So here's the little knob. This is a little like adjuster that you're supposed to be able to just micro adjust the camera ever so far forward and backwards. And if you can see, oh, and I'll start recording video on the camera too. Fuck it, why not? So if you can see, hopefully, the camera has, it's focused sort of up closer in the middle. And when I turn this knob, you're going to see, and I'm going to very gently turn it, you're going to see the focus move. You're going to see like the area that's in focus change a little bit, but even the tiniest, like I hardly touched it at all. And the camera goes nuts with vibration, right? So that I think has sort of become the problem, is that even the tiniest, even the most minute of like micro adjustments, you can't hardly see my fingers move, but it's doing something, is causing, in fact, the whole image to shift around. And if I give like the platform even a little bit of a nudge, it's gonna like knock the whole thing off. And that's me barely touching it with a fingertip, barely moving it around. And so it's a pretty good setup, like for magnifications that aren't this huge, and for distance for magnification levels that aren't this huge, it's actually pretty good. Works out okay. However, because I dive too deep into hobbies and stuff, I was like, well, what's the most rock solid, rigid thing I could get that would still allow me to do the adjustment? So this is a geared tripod head that would still allow me to do this adjustment. And now everything's out of focus on the main camera. That would allow me to do this adjustment and like still, and not have all this like shit wobbling around, not have all this vibration. And I think the entire camera image like going back, like completely, not just changing in zoom, but changing in like the XY plane as well. And I was like, I know a lot about, because as a hobby, I learned a lot about CNC machines and manual milling machines. So I was like, what if I got myself a little, like, machines for machining are much more rigid than any of this camera stuff. I mean, this on its own, this chunk of whatever, this chunk of iron steel weighs a shit ton. And it has to withstand loads when you lock it down. It has to withstand loads, or it's designed to withstand like machining loads, right? Check out my toes. It's designed to be like deal with machining loads. So little vibrations from a camera, I'm really hoping, it's covered in grease now, so I'm not gonna like touch it. So I'm hoping that I could mount this. It's even got little mounting holes for mounting it sort of vertically like this, you see? I'm hoping I can mount it like this and then put a little like arm here that I can connect the camera to, because this is essentially what I need, is just something that provides the tilt, because I can move I can move the subject no problem, and that's pretty good, but I need some amount of micro adjustments And this thing can be adjusted very small, very, very gently. And I think that'll be perfect. We'll see though. The only catch now is like finding a way to mount the camera to it like this that is also stable and solid and is at least as solid as the setup. Maybe I can show something fun in the camera now. That is at least as solid as this. And this has a bit of flex. It's got a bit of flex. Whereas this is fucking, it's just a chunk of metal. It's just a chunk of, the only plastic on it, I don't even think this hand wheel is plastic. It might be. It didn't feel plastic. It felt like maybe aluminum. But, so I'm hoping that I could get really, 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 really ridiculous adjustments on the, here and have really solid sort of like tilt mechanism. But then the thing that I was actually touching was this, right? It's hard to do this through the camera, was this. To move the camera in and out, right? So, again, with the machining, I was like, well, linear stages that use ball screws and a stepper motor, you can just buy those. And those should be pretty solid. I mean, those should be solid enough for a camera. Even the cheapest Chinese ones, which is what I got, the cheapest one I could find on eBay, should be pretty, I think, a dang sight more rigid than this. I mean, this isn't a lot of flex at all, but it's enough. It's enough at these really extreme magnifications. So that's all. And then also I discovered that there's a, for this camera, I can't take a video of the phone with my phone, but there's an app for it that lets you control the camera with your phone. And I'm like, oh, and that allows you to like remotely trigger it, like remotely set stuff like the ISO and the what's it called, the shutter speed. So I'm like, oh boy, I could go full nerd with this. I could use that API. I could use that API to like control the camera, have a CNC, essentially a single axis CNC machine and the tool is the camera, and then have it mounted on this thing. And then I could have a ridiculous automated focus stacking setup. It's such a ridiculous idea. But the thing that's making me pursue it is, A, this is fun. This is interesting. And B, it's, now that I've got the camera, it's like sunk cost fallacy. Like, this was like $80, which, okay, sure. And then the linear stage, which isn't here yet, is another $80. So it's not as much money, but then I'm going to have to, spend more money and probably never get this working. And mount something and get a way to mount the camera to this. But I'm hopeful. I have hopes that this will in fact be not shit. Well, I mean, it's already not shit. It's already pretty good. It's just when you go to these ridiculous, these absolutely preposterous magnification levels that anything becomes a problem. Anyways, that's all. That's my voice memo for myself, and maybe I'll make a YouTube video out of this sometime. Maybe I won't.